Number 1.
Creep on the Bus by CO.AG 999. I'm a 16-year-old guy, and I wasn't expecting this to happen to me, so I just wanted to point out that this doesn't only happen to women. 2 days ago, I was coming back from school. For background information, the bus students goes to the center of town. I take that one, and then I take another bus to get to my stop, where I have to walk maybe 200 or 300 meters to my house. I took the bus from school towards the center, then waited at my stop. There were other kids from other schools that waited at the stop, and then there was him. He wore his hat down and was glancing at me every now and then. I ignored him by putting my earphones on. This lasted for 10 minutes, until the bus finally came. I forgot about the guy, but he still creeped me out. I got on the bus and took an empty seat. I then noticed that the creep got onto the bus too, and he was walking towards me. My red flags weren't out yet, but I still checked just in case. He took a seat behind me, and then the bus started heading towards the next stop. I heard something in the background of my music. I turned the volume down, and I hear a voice from behind me, from this same fucking guy. I pressed pause and heard him ask, "Hey, I think we live near each other. Can you tell me at which stop we are supposed to get off?" Of course, you'd think it's stupid of me to tell him the truth, but it would be a bit of an asshole move to tell him bullshit if he lives near me. The bus approached near a stop that is 5 or 6 stops away from my place. I changed my seat, imitating as if I needed to get off the bus. The creep moved too. God damn it, he's lying and is following me. I then waited for one of the busier stops, and God was with me, because there was a crowd of teens, probably planning to smoke and drink. As soon as the doors opened, I ran the fuck away from the bus, and crossed the road and entered a random shop. I kept my head down and looked out the window. As soon as the students were separating, I looked for the creep, and I could see him, looking for me. I took off my hoodie and put it in my bag. I then went to the bathroom to make my hair wet. I fucked up my hair to make myself look a little different, and then left the shop. I walked a long way towards the next stop, making turns at every possibility. After walking around for a bit, I went to a small cafe and waited there for a bit. I texted my dad if he can come get me. He asked me why, and I told him the whole thing. He picked me up like Usain Bolt, and then drove me home. I don't know who the hell that guy was, and what the hell he planned out. I don't think he lives near me, and I fucking hope not. But whatever the fuck it is, creep in the bus. Let's not meet.
Number 2.
The face tattooed drug addict who tried to trick me into helping kidnap his ex-wife by Taft the Hippo. A few weeks ago, my boyfriend was running late for work, so instead of dropping me off at my work, he dropped me off at the metro station stop next to his work. There's a stop that's only a few minute walk from campus, so I wasn't too worried about it. As I'm waiting for the train at the stop, a random person thanks me for my service. I'm caught off guard, but realized I had my military backpack on, complete with my last name stitched on it. A man, covered in face tattoos and wearing dirty, smelly clothes, overhears and walks over to me as well. "Oh, you're in the military? My wife is too. She's in the X position for the Y unit. Actually, you look really familiar. Were you at the holiday party at the racetrack?" The specifics checked out, but I definitely didn't remember a guy with face tattoos showing up to the event. I tell him that I might know her, but it's a big unit. The train comes, and I walk on to take my seat. "Smith, Amanda Smith, I knew I recognized you." I turn around, and it's Face Tattoo Man. He knows my whole name, and decides to sit down next to me on the train. He starts asking questions about my job and how his wife is doing. He says that she was feeling stressed out with her job, and that she was worried she was going to get fired. I thought it was a little weird, considering that she had been fired over a week prior, but maybe he was trying to be polite and not embarrass her. But then, he started asking me some strange questions. Where do we go for off-site training? When do we go? What's the next time I will train with her? I realized something was really wrong, so I get off at the next stop to try to get away from this guy. He gets off the train too. "Let's go together. You never answer my questions." I look for my phone to call for someone to get me out of the situation, and I realized I left it in my boyfriend's car. I decide to tell him I got off at the wrong stop and try to get on a different car than him when the next train arrives. Just kidding. He gets off that car and onto mine on the next stop. He starts threatening me about giving him information about her, so I stand up and start making a scene, saying that I needed help. A man intervenes, and I get off at the next stop, which is actually my stop. I contact that woman, and it turns out that since that holiday party, he had started doing heroin and became violent towards her. She and the kids moved out to an undisclosed location, and he tried abducting them once. He had become homeless, so that explains why I didn't recognize him at all. He did recognize me from the party, and he was trying to figure out when she would next be around. She had a restraining and no contact order against him, so she encouraged me to contact the police if this ever happened again. I decided not to take the train anymore and ditched my backpack altogether. Last week, I was working late and decided to walk over by the train stop to get some food. As I'm waiting to cross a crosswalk, I hear, "Amanda, good to see you." I look behind me, and Face Tattoo Guy is standing behind me. No. Let's not meet and have dinner as you try to figure out how to kidnap your wife. I turn and take off sprinting down the busy street to get away. I'm definitely staying away from this whole line. Forever.
Number 3.
The Man with the Machete by Danam Made a Line. This happened about a year ago during the summer. I work at a local family-owned grocery store that has its own package store. With a package store comes a bottle return room, and ours is particularly small, with only 2 machines. The may I add, jams and breaks fairly easily. We're located next to a gas/convenience store, so we get our fair share of strange, creepy men who love to make young women feel uncomfortable, and purposely break our bottle machines so that the girls have to fix them as they watch. We also get a handful of regulars, since we're a local shop, and unfortunately, many of our regulars are creepy, perverted men. Our bottle room is where the story starts. It was Saturday night, around 8 o'clock. We close at 10 on Saturdays, so although it was summer, it was dark outside once we left work. One of our regulars, I'll call him Jim, came in to return some bottles. Jim is a slightly older, probably in his 50s, short man who smelled of sweat and beer and loved to sing while returning his bottles. He didn't seem to be as creepy as most of the other men that came in, but I was always cautious around him. Naturally, my coworker, I'll call him Nick, and I got a call at the registers letting us know that the bottles machines were jammed. Nick volunteered to unjam the machines, since he knew who was behind the call. Nick comes back to the front after a few minutes, and everything is completely normal. He helps a few customers out, and waits to see if Jim will come back to the front before telling me he is going to fill the milk and egg shelves in the cooler. Protocol for closing the store. It doesn't take too long to restock the milk and eggs, maybe 10 minutes on a night where the shelves are very empty. But Nick came back within 2 minutes. After he was done ringing up another customer, he told me, "Jim was asking to see you personally, so just a heads up." Despite the gross feeling that gave me, it wasn't out of the ordinary for Jim to say that. Nick cleared his throat and then quickly said, "Oh, and he had a machete, so there's that too." Now, weird shit going down in the bottle room isn't unusual, but I can't say I have never seen or even heard of a customer carrying a machete in any store. I suggested we call the police, but Nick told me that he wasn't threatening anyone with it, he was just putting it back into his backpack, so the cops probably wouldn't do much. I shrugged it off for the most part, as I trusted Nick, but still kept it in the back of my head to watch out for Jim. 10 or 15 minutes go by and there was no sign of Jim anywhere, so I figured it was safe for me to assume that he had left and would redeem his bottle slip another time. The next hour and a half goes by smoothly, and we're getting ready to close the registers and lock our doors, when I see someone run by the floor-to-ceiling windows at the front of the building, which is behind our registers. So while I'm working on the register, my back is to the windows. I shrugged it off again, but still am wary, and decided to keep myself on high alert and return to my closing business. Out the corner of my eye, I see the same person running by the sliding doors to my left, tripping the motion sensor, causing the doors to open. I recognize the person as Jim. At this point, I'm getting slightly nervous, and tell Nick that it was close enough to 10 for him to lock up. He goes and locks the doors, and I see Jim run by again, totally ignoring Nick. We finish closing, and Nick shuts all the lights off, but I tell him not to leave yet, because I was feeling even more nervous about Jim running around outside. As a side note, Jim wasn't just leisurely going for a run around our store, he was pacing, almost like he was circling our store waiting for us to come out. I let Nick know that I was very unnerved by this, especially since I hadn't driven to work that night, and my mom wasn't there to pick me up. He said it would be okay from the inside of the store, and we just needed to wait it out. We were waiting in the aisles of the store watching Jim closely, when I noticed a gleam of light reflecting off of something in his hand. It was his machete. I texted my mom to tell her to park in front of the back door, so I could jump straight into the car when she got here. When Nick and I deemed it was safe enough to leave, we took the opportunity and booked it out of there. I saw Jim at the front of the store as my mom and I drove off, and I can definitely say that that event sticks out to me as the most unsafe I felt at work. I can't tell you why we decided not to call the police. I guess I trusted Nick enough to also trust his word against calling them, but looking back, I think it was dumb of us not to call them. Some things to add. I was a 17-year-old girl at the time of this event, and knowing that Jim was asking for me personally, that situation had the potential to get a whole lot worse, especially since we decided not to call the police. I also don't know the laws for carrying weapons in the town I live in, or at my place of work, so I'm not sure if it was illegal to have it on the property of the store, let alone carry it. So Jim, one thing is for sure, I would really like if we never met again, especially if you are carrying that machete. Hey guys, Psychotic Maniac here. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Some of these creeps really need a chill. I wanted to give a quick comment about the attack that happened in Manchester, England. My heart goes out to all the families who lost a loved one in yesterday's attack. It enrages me that the motherfucker behind the attack decided it was okay to go out and kill children, or go out and kill for that matter. I hope he rots in hell for what he did. To my viewers in England, be safe, and if you lost anyone yesterday, I'm very sorry for your loss. May the innocent lives that were taken rest in peace. Don't give in to fear, because that's what these fuckers want. Don't give them that glory. Let's stand united against terrorism. Thanks for watching, be safe, and remember, everyone is a tad bit insane.